I can't say anything I've done has been by myself. I'm definitely the visionary on the projects that I lead, but I actually just did a head count like yesterday for like what I'm working on now, and like the grand team is like we're at like 17 people.
Oh, okay.
So it's like nothing is just dolo. You have to be able to go dolo to attract the people, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Say that again for the people, because that is so true.
You got to be willing to go. They're not going to respect you if you're not willing to do it alone. My name is David, but most of my friends call me Umeh. Everybody pretty much calls me Umeh.
Do you prefer being called Umeh?
Well, here's the thing. My dad named me David because he thought I would have an easier time in America.
Mm-hmm.
And tomato. I don't know. Everybody just called me Umeh, so I don't know if it worked or not. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's crazy. Like even starting with the names too. I'm like a lot of Nigerians too. I noticed they use nicknames. Well, there's various reasons, and then I also have like other African friends who like refuse to use nicknames because they feel like they're conforming. So
my uncle who live in LA, his name is Onka, but when he got to LA, he changed his name to Michael because he thought that at the time the three most popping niggas in America were Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Mike, what other Michael? So he was like, I'm gonna be Michael too, and he made people call him. He made
oh my gosh.
Michael. You know what I'm saying? His name is Mike. You know what I'm saying? But that's not really his name.
Oh,
that's a fun fact for me. I'm gonna write that down.
But you know what? A lot of Asian people do that too. Like they be having like really, I guess, difficult looking to pronounce Asian names, and then when they come to America they're like, oh, like call me Shelly, or like, oh, call me
for real.
Vince or something.
I do notice that too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that's not the name that you
I know that's
America, it's safe to say America is powerful, yo. Like
yeah.
I remember I was asking my mom, it had to have been a month ago. Her birthday was on the 24th of April. Yeah. So I was talking to her around her birthday. And like at this point in life, me and my mom and my dad, even though they're divorced, we'd be having like, I look at my parents as just like kind of like adult kids now. Like I don't look at them as like I don't put them on a pedestal. I just look at them for who they are. And I asked my mom, I was like, yo, what made you come to America? You know what I'm saying? Like real, like seriously. And I could tell just when I asked her the question, she took herself down memory lane. She was like, you know what? Like, and then I asked her some sneaky question too, because like we're at the age where we're dating and all that stuff, right? So I asked her like, would you have really fucked with my dad if he wasn't like on his way to America? You know what I'm saying? Like, was that lit? Like, you know what I'm saying? Is that why you came? And she's, she didn't deny. She was like, yeah, he had something going. So it's like, it made sense. It had to make sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And she said when she got here, she did feel like she got swindled. Like she said when she touched down in like Oakland, Hayward, she was like, what is this? Like she saw McDonald's. She saw McDonald's for the first time. She's like, what the hell is this? Like, just like the whole everything. It wasn't what they dream about.
Mm-hmm.
They could have stayed in Nigeria for all of that.
Wow.
America was the place to be at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to a lot of people still to this day, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. That's so crazy that you bring that up too. Oh my God. Like, I'm wondering what their expectations were that weren't met. Like,
here's the thing about people too, right? Like, do people really care about like, I hate to say it. I'm just going through a time right now where I'm learning a lot. So I got a lot.
Yeah, I love it.
But like, people are like ants. Like we don't like people just follow, you know what I'm saying? Like one person does something and the next thing you know, like you see how stocks is going crazy right now, how everybody's like think that they a crypto billionaire, everybody all this. Like was it like that months ago? Like come on. Like everybody just we follow. People are monkey see, monkey do.
Follow.
Nowhere, you know what I'm saying?
I'm like Dogecoin. I'm like Jada.
I follow the hype. I'm not even gonna lie.
So this is not something that just happened like when Nigerians started coming to America. This is people since people have been people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's sheep culture.
Well, but but when you think about it, it's because maybe they saw these people that came and they had like an immense amount of success. So they're like, oh, I want that for my family. So let me just, why try and like do something different if what they're doing is working?
But I look at, that's a great question. What's your name again? Kalaria.
Kalaria.
How does your mom say your name?
Kalaria.
Well, to give insight, Kalaria's mom is actually South African, and her dad is Nigerian.
Got you.
Mine and
You got the
Jada's
mixed race Nigerian swag going, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, mine and Jada's moms are American, and our dads are Nigerian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. So okay, to answer Kalaria's question,
Yes.
what you say? Oh, they saw, well, everybody's their own walking testimony, right?
Mm-hmm.
America fake destroyed my family, low key. You know what I'm saying? Like, my parents got divorced after this American dream. You know what I'm saying? Like 10 years in the game, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can't sit here and say that would have happened if they were living in Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? But I know that what comes with America and the money, and America's designed to
and the mindset.
America's designed to destroy culture. Like, you know.
Wow, wait.
We could go into it, but this is y'all podcast.
So did you live in Abiriba for a while, or give us your little background? And
I don't know why, but I'm really just fascinated with Abiriba. Like, it's just part of my identity, you know?
Yeah.
I know that, because you got to think about it. Like, I grew up in the Bay, and most of my friends, people that I grew up with, like, they're like, people be like, hey, I'm going to my granny house. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to my uncle house. I'm going to my granny house. My granny house.
Yeah.
Like, but our granny house was not, you know, right there. You feel me? So I had to understand that, and I had to realize my identity. So just as much as I belong in those spaces, like, I also know that, like, that, you know, I'm really from this place, and I gotta, like, honor that. And just that made it, like, my favorite language, and made it, I really care, like, about, like, what's going on. Like, my cousins be calling me and shit like that. So I don't know, it's just part of my identity.
I love it too. And a lot of people don't really take the initiative to learn, especially when they're so far away from, you know, their home country, and like, separated from their culture a little bit. So that's really interesting that you took the initiative to, like, be diligent and learn and immerse yourself in your culture, even if you weren't, you know, placed in Nigeria.
People be surprised. Nigerians be surprised, like, especially the Uber drivers. They be like, because, like, my name on Uber is Chief. Long story. I got banned from Uber a few years ago, and so I had to make, like, a fake name for my new Uber account.
Oh my gosh.
So, like, when they say Chief, like, it's weird. In Chicago, it's a lot of Nigerian Uber drivers. Hella. Well, Chicago got a big Nigerian. They got a whole section uptown called Rogers Park where all the Nigerians live. It's a lot of Nigerians on the south side too, but it's like a whole area. And when I get in the car, they be like, "Are you Chief?" I'll be like, yeah. And then they be like, "Where you from?" I'm like, "Why you asking where you from?" And they be like, I'm like, yeah, they're like, "Are you Nigerian?" I'm like, I mean, then I hit them with the Nassau. And they be like, "I knew I had to be Chief." They be tripping every time. So it's just like, it's hella funny. I don't know why I said that, why I brought that up, but yeah, this shit's hella funny.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they'd be surprised. They'd be so surprised that.
Yeah, because you're young and and you're so knowledgeable of your culture and things like that. Talk about too, like, how do you go about finding this information? Because a lot of times when I've tried to do research on, like, Abiriba and, like, ancient Igbo culture, like, a lot of those things are not available on the internet. And isn't that crazy? Because even, like, now, where anything that we can think to look up or search, we just know, like, oh, it's somewhere on the internet, or I'll find plenty of information on the internet, like, as it relates to our daily lives, living in America, all of those things. But all of that ancient, like, African history, obviously there's a reason why, but, like, all of that information is still not readily available. So, like, we still have to rely on, like, stories.
We come from a very, like, oral culture. Like, a lot of things passed down. Like, they love telling stories, and, like, even, like, in Black America, you could tell, like, you know, we like telling stories. Like, we are the best storytellers. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of the culture that we come from. So that's why a lot of stuff isn't written down. I think you can go down a whole rabbit hole with conspiracy theories as to, like, how shit is, like, stolen from us and then remixed and then pitched back to us and stuff like that. But yeah, we come from a very oral culture, and it came from me, like, getting mad at my mom sometimes, like, oh, you ain't tell me about this going on. And then after a few times, she realized that I'm like legit pissed. She like go out of her way to like fill me in on stuff. And then like my dad, when me and him get into arguments and stuff, he always want to use like a parable or a story or like, tell me, like, you know, I'm like, this is, you know, like he always want to use some type of metaphor or something. And then, so when we're not arguing, that opens the door for me to just like ask him questions and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's not a lot of stuff online, to be honest with you. And the history isn't all that pretty either. Maybe it's a good thing it's not online.
I know, I can imagine.
On the next episode of version. Okay, Chief. So I'm just loving this conversation so far. I wanted you to talk a little bit more about where you came from, because you're a self-proclaimed Baygerian. But you did talk a little bit about how that influenced some of the stuff that you got into. So how did you start off with some of the businesses that you are currently working on? Like, just talk to us about the industry that you represent.
The Bay is super diverse. Mm-hmm. And when I think about my childhood, there was Asians, there was Black people, there was, I grew up in basically a Mexican neighborhood.
Right.
I played soccer. I was one of the few Black kids playing soccer with all the Mexicans. So I always consider myself like fake Mexican. And then there were a lot of Asians. I know my parents really like Chinese food, not only because it was like readily available, but I think like we just come from a rice eating culture, right?
Yeah.
So I knew a lot of Asian kids. There was this girl named V who used to take us to school every day. Her mom did. And then I remember preschool, Mama Mary, she was like our first teacher, I guess, if you count preschool as school. She was Black. So then I had like a lot of like Black kids in my upbringing as well. But then I always knew that we were like fake different. And that just came from, like, if you look at it in a grand scheme, like our parents were kind of squares to the American culture. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They just didn't really know like all the tips and tricks and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it's like also superpower too, because it's like in our house, our insulated culture was like its own world in itself. So I just knew that there was that difference. But so like I'm really from the Bay, but I'm also like super Nigerian, and I didn't make up that term to like I think I was in college, but it made sense. And I left the Bay right after high school. There was this girl in my class who told me about like Black College Tour. She was like, yo, Umeh, you should apply to like Howard or Hampton. That shit was lit. Like, you're going to love it, blah, 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 blah. So I applied to Hampton. And that was the first school that accepted me. So I think that's just like where I decided to go. And I was like all the way in Virginia. So then just being that, not just Cali kid in Virginia, but being that kid from the Bay, right? Because people outside of California think that California is just LA. Like, they just think California is LA. So like that also reinstilled just being from the Bay. And I always think that people from the Bay are like a little sharper than people from LA. So I just really like that.
How so?
What? How
elaborate, please.
I mean, if you want to bring it to like 2021 level, like Saweetie's from the Bay. I think she's like literally.
She's not
that's your example.
No. I did that on purpose. I did it on purpose. But no, I think people from the Bay are just a little sharper than LA, because LA I think gets cut a lot of slack for no reason, just because it's LA.
What do you mean? Like, I need to know.
LA will chew you up and spit you out.
Ooh.
We created.
I think you gotta be tougher to be here.
We created the sound.
No, you didn't. LA has its own set. Like, you could tell NorCal music and SoCal music from a mile away. I mean, I'm not saying like y'all music is cool, but there's nothing. Y'all did not create sound over here. It sounds different. It's just different.
I promise you, the Bay Area is behind the LA sound. I promise you.
Okay. Well, I just let you have that. So
yeah, we're gonna let you have that.
Just do it like Nike. I don't care. Just
see, that's that LA shit. Corny jokes is like
what? No, but you know what kills me? A lot of people from the Bay think that people from LA are so fake and stuff. But I'm like, half of the people, first of all, that live in LA are transplants. So they're not even LA natives. So y'all are over here talking about LA this, LA that. Half of the people are from like random ass states like Arkansas and like trying to chase a dream.
Right.
And they're not, and then, you know, in that process, it's kind of giving us a look as if we're
look, I don't hate LA. I used to live in LA. I used to work in LA. I did the whole LA dance for like 2-3 years. I love LA. But I'm just saying people from the Bay are a little like just, I don't know. Let me stop.
No, I want, okay.
Let me stop.
All right.
Maybe off camera, we just need to talk about this a little more. Shopping.
But I like LA though. I've lived, and just for reference, I lived in DC, lived in LA, I lived in New York. I lived in the Bay, obviously. I feel like Chicago's the only big city I haven't really lived in. And yeah, so I've been around, you know what I'm saying? I met LA people in all these different places and Bay people, all that shit. So yeah. Again, so all these places that I've been to, it just reminds me of where I'm from, who I am. That's how I coined the term Baygerian. When I went from California to Virginia, one of the first things about being a California kid was just that we had better weed. Right. So that was kind of my entry to the cannabis industry. I used to kind of like interstate kind of traffic, just weed. We were like one of the first ones to do it back in those days when the prices were crazy. I started a couple businesses at school, started a clothing brand. That was like before like everybody had a clothing brand. And we also started like a hookah lounge, all off the money that we made from like, you know what I'm saying, from the weed. Contracted with the school. We had a bunch of events. So that was like my little scrimmage for like entrepreneurship. Then when I left Hampton, I didn't finish, I actually dropped out like my senior year because they were on some bullshit. And I was just seeing how it was affecting people. I would say the most valuable thing I got from Hampton was the network, because I just met people from places that I had never been to, that I wouldn't have met if I never left like the East Bay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I was able to move to LA. And I was blessed to be a part of Revolt. I was able to be like an editor at Revolt when they launched. I was a part of the launch team at Revolt. So I was able to work with a lot of artists and like people in media. I remember when I first met Diddy, I was like literally like looking like where are the horns on this man's head? Like how, like he's just a regular ass person. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And then from there, I worked at Hip Hop DX. They were also in Hollywood. I helped them launch their visual media department. So like they flew us out to South by. We interviewed a lot of artists that were on the come up at the time. We got behind the scenes. We were in a lot of different places. So that was like my entry to the music. And then the whole time I had the clothing brand from Hampton that I brought to LA. It's called Oasis. And we got on Karma Loop. We had like international orders like in Singapore and shit. That was really cool.
Wow.
And yeah, I was helping my uncle out. He lived in LA. I was helping him with his company at the time, just using my brain to help them with like their property management kind of like platform. And then I moved to New York after that. I took everything I got in LA and just took that to New York. And I was working with Karma Loop TV in their media department. So at the time, I was working under a guy named Shami, and they were working with a lot of cool artists. He still shoots a lot of people's videos today. And when I was living in New York, that's when I realized, like, because of how I grew up, I feel like I've grown up with like a lust, not a lust, but appreciation for like finer things. Like I like nice shit now. And New York is like, I saw a lot of that. And I realized I'm not gonna get that trying to like just live this creative life, right? Like that shit ain't cheap. It ain't cute to be trying to be creative and struggling. Like I don't want to be a starving creative or a struggling artist. That's not my lane. You know what I'm saying? So, and I have a business mind, right? Like not only am I from the Bay, but I'm Igbo and I'm from Abiriba, right? So that's like just like, you know, that's
unique.
Exactly. And
it's your destiny.
so I went back to the Bay and I took all my experiences in the underground cannabis industry and started a cannabis company called Highspeed. And we launched July 2015 and in Oakland. And it was great. Like the first 6 months was really cool. It was a tech-facing platform, e-commerce driven, again, before like where we are now. And yeah, we had a launch party. Our ethos was like to not be Cheech and Chongy. And we had happy customers and everything, but like at the end of that first 6 months, I kind of wasn't happy with the growth. Cause I'm just like, I'm in Oakland, like, even though it's like forward thinking, like it's still Oakland. So it's like, weed ain't new here. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing new. So that's when I took the company to DC in January 2016. And at the time in DC, the laws were so different. Like they had just legalized in DC, but it was like, had weird framework. Like you could use cannabis, you could transport it, you could possess it, you could consume it, you could travel with it as long as you're over the age of 21, but you couldn't sell it. And I'm like, this is the nation's capital. Like, what the fuck? Like, but if I figure out how to like work this loophole here, I know that I could look back 5 years from now and like be like, yo, you like made an impact. So what we did was to get around that law, we would buy like these companies like super expensive like cold pressed juices, like the $12 ones, and then we would like resell their product for like $300 and give away the weed for free. And the company blew up. Like this writer ordered from us, and he didn't tell us that he was a writer because we would have given him free product. And he wrote a whole ass article about his experience, and the shit went viral. And like the next day, we were like on World Star, Fox 5 News. They came to our office trying to ask questions, and the shit blew up. We did like 4 million in like 2.5 years. We expanded to Boston, New York, all bootstrapped, no investors, no funding, straight out the mud. Team was
Wait, so I'm still trying to understand like your model. So you bought cold pressed juices and you literally just resold the juices and attached your weed to it?
Literally, you could like literally Google it. I'll send a video in this link.
There's a new delivery service in town seeking to capitalize on Initiative 71. The measure passed last February, which says you can use, buy, and grow marijuana in the district, but not sell it. This new business delivers high-quality juices, which can come with a gift of marijuana on the side. Fox 5's Jennifer Davis joins us live with the story. Jenny.
Hi there, Tony. Well, the owner of Highspeed Delivery says he is not trying to break the law. In fact, he says he consulted with several lawyers in an attempt to figure out how to operate what he calls a socially conscious business within the constraints of this new law. These days, when it comes to deliveries in the district, you can now order more than just pizza and Chinese food.
Highspeed is a juice delivery startup operating within the confinements of Initiative 71 here in Washington, D.C. We're a juice delivery startup, and every order of juice comes with a gift of cannabis.
25-year-old CEO David Umeh started his company in Oakland, California, and came to D.C. in late January to test out the market. In no time, his client list has grown to more than 300 customers.
People would be definitely surprised where they come from. I think it's safe to say that the demographic, the major demographic of our customers are completely opposite than the people who get, who are considered offenders of the law.
He says 74% of his orders come from Northwest, about 20% from the Capitol Hill area, and the rest from around the city. Customers can choose from Just Juice for $11. A designation called Love costs $55, and Lots of Love has a price tag of $150. Umeh says in addition to the juice, the size of the cannabis gift varies, but is generally about 1/8 of an ounce.
We're going through hundreds of juices a week.
Umeh says he realizes he's taking a risk by entering into this arena, since others who've tried, like Kush Gods, have run into trouble with police. But he says he is excited to be a trailblazer.
If my goal is to figure out how to do it creatively within the law to make an impact, I feel like they put in this gray framework to see who can creatively like facilitate that space and not like be a harm or threat to society. That's where we want to. That's where we want to hone in on.
So the website DCist did a story on the company today, and reaction was big. Customers actually bought everything he had in stock, guys. So he has to replenish, and he says he'll have more on Wednesday. Wow. Here's how it works. We have very fancy glasses here. Okay. So what he stressed is there is no marijuana in the juice. Okay. This is just juice. He partners with juice companies. Okay. The marijuana then comes in a bag like this, which he says is a gift. And you know, he says he's trying to do this the legal way. The juices are cold pressed. They're supposed to be the fancy upscale juices. Healthy
Yeah.
stuff. And then this is the gift on the side.
Okay, very interesting. It'll be able to see if he can skirt the law that the Kush gods could not maneuver around. And by the way, let me ask you, his last name is Umeh, same as our morning
We did want to
anchor?
say no relation to Maureen, just a
Okay.
coincidence.
Also, we should mention there's no marijuana in that bag.
There is none. It's empty.
just for looks.
Just for looks.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Jen, thank you. I will keep my juice. Thank you.
They were hella scared, like.
And I wasn't gonna take that interview. They were like blowing our email, our phone up, our office up, and like I knew that if I didn't do the interview, they would have made me paint me out to be like they would have painted me out to be like a demon, like straight demon.
Yeah.
And so I had to take the interview, and we went from like not just 300 customers, we had like 3,000. We were making like 180,000 a month.
Wow.
In DC at the height of it. And then I became like a victim of success. You know, it got so big and it was like all like bootstrap, like, right? It was like all our cash flow, not outside money. So I understood that if you're trying to really run a big business, you do have to have investors because you might grow too big to even meet up to your demand. And also, I was so early in the cannabis game. It's like 2016 too. Remember, like, it's before like cookies existed. It's before all these companies. So like I'm getting bank accounts shut down left and right. Like I'm getting my processing fees shut down left and right. Like they're holding like $90,000 from me, and now I can't pay like my vendors, or you know what I'm saying. I got to tell my team I got to wait like a week, and even through all of that, like we still expanded. Took it to Boston. We started lobbying in New York. Like it was really a whole journey, and like everybody from my team, I've been able to put them in like dope jobs at different places, and it was a whole thing. And like I held on as long as I could, and I still have people emailing every day like begging for the product, but now they want us to like ship it to like Florida, ship it to all these places. Like they basically want me to be illegal as shit, but I'm trying to like think for my future self and like kind of pull back a little bit because I have my time with that. I already made history. Like so many companies like copied us, followed our footsteps, tried to do the same thing. So like I feel accomplished, you know what I'm saying?
Why did you stop doing it?
Again, so like when the payment, it was really, we never had an issue with customers. Like we always had that demand, never had an issue with supply, right? From California. But that middle process is like the biggest hurdle with the cannabis industry, payments. Like I did not want to run a cash business, you know what I'm saying? Especially with all the money we were dealing with. Like I didn't want to run a cash business. I wanted to run like a forward thinking joint, but like PayPal don't let you process cannabis payments. Even though I was using like the juices, they like, ain't no way you're making this much money off of juices. When Stripe, they banned us once we got like too big on their platform. Every platform that we switched to, they just, I don't want to call it hating, but you know.
They didn't support it.
Yeah, they didn't support. So like, again, and Highspeed has paid the bills like for me as I'm like kind of like moving into this new business. Oh, and also too, the juice companies started hating on us too. And they were like, yo, they're seeing like their product on the news and stuff. So I actually started a juice company as a result of that called Capital Juice. And Capital Juice, people started liking Capital Juice just as on its own. Like in Capital Juice, like it was in stores like across the country. I'm actually waiting to hear back from Whole Foods. Trying to get into Whole Foods is like trying to get into Harvard. So it's like, you really gotta like, it's a whole ass process. They got like round submission, and I should be hearing back like sometime this May. But like if Capital Juice gets into Whole Foods, it'll truly be like full circle, because I had no intention of starting a juice company, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just a result of this weird law. But we'll see. I think everything ultimately always does come full circle, as corny and cliche as that sounds. I do think that there's always like a light at the end of the tunnel. So my story is still being like written in real time. So I can't give you all the answers, you know.
Wow.
There's an elephant in the room to address. Like, let's talk about the culture. So I could imagine turning on the 5 o'clock news and being like, is that not so?
Yo, it's crazy. That was the turning point of me and my parents' relationship too.
So let's talk about that. How did that conversation get brought up at dinner?
So I was already out of the house at that point, right? I'm like 25 at the time, 26. Mind you, they know what I've been building before that, like at least hip to it, but they can't really support how they like would support like my sister in medical school. Not only do they know more about like medical, like just like have more examples, but they don't know anything about marijuana. They don't know that the Bay Area is like the mecca of like all cannabis in the world. They think marijuana is crack. You know what I'm saying? They didn't come to this country to smoke weed. Like, yeah, my parents really weren't in full. And even before that, like I'm on some media creative shit. They're just like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And but like once the shit hit the news, like they had people calling them, you know what I'm saying? And like people were reaching out to them. So it wasn't even that I wasn't at the dinner table. They were at the dinner table with themselves, and people reaching out to them. And that's kind of, well, for my mom always fake believed in me though. Like she always, like, even though she was a little concerned, she always believed in me. But my dad, he was concerned and he didn't believe in me. You know what I'm saying? But like now it's like it's like my relationship with him is like he respects the shit out of me. Like I know that I can like influence the decision that he does. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that changed everything. Honestly, like I thank God for that. It changed the whole dynamic of our relationship. Nothing's been the same since 2015.
That's what's up.
Yeah. They're not going to respect you till you give them a reason to, pretty much.
We were talking about that. We were talking about that. Nigerians are very like results driven too. Like you could tell them all your plans and all these things, lay out the whole blueprint, and it's not within their traditional model. Then
like now I'm like, now they're like, oh yeah, David, businessman, David, what should we do about this? David, what should we do? Now it's like that. For real, it is like that now.
Because they see the results.
They like my dad. My dad's a whole different person now. You know.
Yeah. I think at a certain age, your parents just they come around, like the conversations are different, and it's really eye opening too, because your whole life growing up, you see them as like an authoritative figure as you should, but the conversations just end up being different. Like they became more your friend. You can talk to them about anything, and you start to look at them as just a person instead of your parent. I think that's really interesting. It's a part of growth, and it's motivating really, because you just want to keep doing more to make them proud or to, include them. Whereas before you just be trying to like hop, skip around them, make different moves because you don't want to disappoint them. But at the same time, it's like, you have to walk your own path. Of course, they want the best for you, but you have to walk your own path.
I remember my dad was going to a funeral in Nigeria for my uncle, I think like two or three years ago. And, he kind of like subtly asked me if I could come, even though I was like across the country. He knew I was busy doing blah, 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 blah. And I pulled up, and like, he was so like appreciative of that. And like everybody around him was like, damn, David came by himself. Like, what does he do? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is he going, and it was just, I know it was a proud moment for him, because he's like, damn, I don't got to buy my son ticket to come with me to Nigeria. Like, this is what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? So that's like real graduate. I didn't finish school, but like, that's like graduation for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was like my graduation. You know what I'm saying? I look at my businesses as like my degrees too. Like, I feel like those two businesses were like my bachelor's and my master's, and like what I'm working on now is like my PhD.
Is there still any talk from your parents about completing your education, or are they kind of just, they're good?
I mean, honestly, if I get to where I want to be at a certain point in time, I might go back to school just to complete it, because I do have dreams sometimes of being like a diplomat. I could see being like a diplomat, like just like working with other countries, and like that sounds dope to me. But they're not pressing me to go back to school. They feel like I've come too far with what I'm doing to like, they don't feel like it's a must unless like I'm dead serious. And then plus my sister, she's like, she took that route. She made them happy in that route. Yeah. And it's not like I don't like learning. You know what I'm saying? Learning doesn't stop in school at all. It really just depends on what you're trying to do. Exactly. Right? Yeah. That's part of why I moved to Chicago too, to like continue my learning, meet new people. Chicago is like super like professional city. So like I'm like the only entrepreneur in my circle out here. So that's like good for me. You know what I'm saying? Because like I honestly hate entrepreneurship. Like right now, I feel like the term is like just used like, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Like I don't want to be an Instagram entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like so I do hate the term entrepreneur, and I'm appreciative that I'm like meeting people who are like in other things, and it helps me to like dream bigger. For like
well, kind of sounds like you're more a solopreneur too.
Solopreneur?
That's another term. There's entrepreneur, and then solopreneur.
I assume that means by yourself.
Yeah.
No, I'm not by myself at all.
Oh, you're not? Oh, okay.
I can't say anything I've done has been by myself. I'm definitely the visionary on the projects that I lead, but I actually just did a head count like yesterday for like what I'm working on now. And like the grand team is like, we're at like 17 people.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, nothing is just dolo.
But yeah, for real.
But you have to be able to go dolo to attract the people though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Say that again for the people, because that is so true.
You got to be willing to go. They're not going to respect you if you're not willing to do it alone.
Yeah.
And that's, even with Highspeed, like the team, I remember when I first came to DC, my boy Jamil was supposed to pick me up. I don't know what he was doing. He was on some bullshit. My boy Ev came through and got me. And then we started cooking, not food. We started just like, I told him what my goals were. Before you know it, it was like 8 of us at the table, you know what I'm saying? And then after the shit went viral, it was like 20 of us. Like, so yeah, you have to start solo, but
yeah.
Because people like to also like be a part of something.
Everybody
people want to be a part of something. So it's up to you to have the courage and the confidence to actually like start doing something, and then people be like, oh wow, like he's actually doing it. That's dope. Let me have one, you know, like
that is. It's so crazy. Like through Highspeed, like I didn't help people get married. Like me and my boy Ev was just talking about the other day. Like yo, it was like just 3 years straight. We had like no worries.
Yeah.
No worries. Like a whole team of like damn near 20 people. We had no worries. Everybody's paid, fed, making people happy. Like she was lit, yo. She was lit. Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. So going back to you traveling back home, do you get to go to Nigeria often, or do you travel like overseas at any point, or you just?
No, I definitely like to travel. I feel like it feeds my creativity. Do you want to like know where I've been?
No, well, specifically, I was asking, like, do you go home to Nigeria often?
So I go to Nigeria, like in the last 10 years, I've been to Nigeria like maybe 3 or 4 times. I want to like do stuff in Nigeria though, but I just feel like I got to fully crack it out here before I just take my talents to Nigeria. Like, I'm not just trying to pull up to Nigeria like, hey, I'm here. Like, I'm trying to pull up to Nigeria like, hey, let's do something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel like I'm getting to that point. I can see myself doing that in this decade. Yeah, definitely Nigeria is always going to be a place of interest for sure. Do you guys go to Nigeria and do stuff too?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I've only been there once.
I like that. The wanting.
Yeah, I've been there once in my life, and you know, I loved it, and like just being able to say that I've experienced that part of my identity is amazing. And I do also like have an urge to give back in a way to, you know, Nigeria. I just don't know exactly how or like how I would navigate that, even though like we have family out there, so it should be a little bit easier. But just even trying to think about like all the like political stuff, the infrastructure, the economic struggles, like it's a little bit intimidating. So I think for me, just like trying to figure out like, for one, what I can do and what I can bring to the table that could like be transformative in a way for Nigeria.
No, that makes sense. I feel like I'm the same way, right? Like, and Nigerians aren't dumb by any means.
Yeah.
They just don't got all the infrastructure or all the bread. So it's like, I got to pull up either with bread or enough bread to do something about the infrastructure, or both, you know?
Sometimes the stubbornness gets in the way as well, certain things. We were out there, not this last time, but another time, like we pull up with so many, I mean, obviously these were ideas, like we put up with ideas because we just started identifying all the things that could be like better, like even just within like Abiriba, right? And then we like talked to one of our relatives and it was just kind of like, well, it is what it is. Good luck trying to do that type of mentality. So I think that's another like tough egg to crack, to break through. But obviously when you break through that, you can make things shake. But
my dream was like once I hit my home run out here, to make a film that kind of like embodies like my experience here, but then like kind of like embodies like Nigerian experience, and then like I want to create like a cinematic Nollywood film. I feel like that'd be the perfect entrance into like area.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's like my dream. And my cousin out there actually gave me a script 2 years ago, and I got the script now. It could use some work, but it's a whole ass script though. You know what I'm saying? It's like the movie Crash, but like Nigerian version. But I definitely like want to like work on it. But I definitely see myself like, I feel like a film would be a great way to kind of just like open that door, you know?
Yeah. You actually didn't clarify. You said you were an editor at Revolt. Was that video editing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I see like how like the film kind of comes into play. So I just want to clarify that.
I just love like, and I hate the word art right now too. I love art, right? Like I love the ability to tell a story through like visual senses. And I think it's just an easy way to like grasp like a concept or a message for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, this was so amazing. We are nearing our time here. So does anybody have anything they want to ask David before we get into the gem? So every episode, we usually drop a gem for our listeners. Like everyone goes around and says something insightful based on what we discussed. So I'll let any of you ladies ask anything else before we move on to that portion if you want to.
No, I don't think we have any questions because we could talk all day, honestly. And David, I mean, just personally watching your growth as like that cousin over there doing something, but I don't really know. I think it was really great to have this conversation and really get your perspective because it's not easy being 1, the oldest child, 2, the trailblazer of the family, and 3, like the creative, if we say. So
definitely tough.
Really happy to have had you here. So. And honestly, you dropped a lot of gems, a lot of free game.
Sure.
We're just gonna have to pick it up. But yeah, let's drop some gems.
Yeah. I do want to say though, and I think it's amazing too how you've been able to like kind of just move to different states and like do your thing. And because for me, I would love to like up and move to New York, but I'm like, I don't know where am I gonna go? Like, you know, so I think it's really
you'd be surprised that like everything about you is like what that place needs, right? Like all it's just you. That's all you bring to the table, yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's enough for somebody to want to talk to you, give you an opportunity. Like you just gotta, it's no magic to it.
Yeah.
That was the gem right there.
Right. Is that your gem? All right. So does anybody want to go first? So what gem would you drop for our listeners, our viewers, based on what we talked about today? We talked about a lot of really good stuff. So,
you know what? I really liked what David said about doing things dolo. Like just, I mean, you got to be your starting point. And sometimes if you want stuff to get done, you just got to do it yourself. You can't rely on anybody else really but yourself. Like you wake up and look at yourself every day. You can't give yourself excuses. You can't.
And it sounds so simple, but it's always easier said than done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
I would say definitely that there's a creative solution to anything you want to do, because with your story of Highspeed, like you could have easily been like, oh, well, the law says X, Y, Z. So how am I going to even make a business out of this? You know, but yeah, so being able to kind of just have a creative perspective on like, well, you know, technically I could still do it this way and it's still like within, you know, the parameters that I've been given. So just thinking about like any business venture that people want to start, if it seems like there's a law or like a rule that can kind of stifle what you want to do, there's always a creative way or like perspective or route that you could take to
especially now, like I hate to go back to the crypto thing, but like what is digital currency? Like that was not a thing like 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's like be creative, like your life depends on it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. That's a good gem right there.
That's my gem right
there. Put that on the shirt.
Gem.
Dang, I totally forgot. I was about to go in. But Kalaria, definitely, that was mine. I was gonna say that. But Anna, you could go. I'm gonna rethink of mine.
I thought she went already.
Me? She did not go. She did not. Okay. Oh, I have it. So don't be afraid to make really bold goals. And I feel like a lot of people get caught up in their little bubble of where they feel comfortable at. I feel like I'm one of those people sometimes. Like I'll make goals that I know that are easy to achieve, but it's really all about like setting the bar high for yourself, because you can do it. There's always, like Kalaria said, like David said, there's always a solution. There's always a way that you can get to that point, but don't be afraid to break the boundary and just aim high, because when you aim high, you're gonna get, higher results.
It's funny. All the cliche shit really works if you apply it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's another gym.
I know. I got gym. I'm a walking gym. You feel me? Like that's just.
We see. Yeah. We'll let Anna go before you.
So I actually stole this from somewhere. I had this encrypted on my iPad growing up, but it was "My life is my message." So really letting your life be your message. And I really loved hearing the inside scoop of what you shared, David, because it really does put everything in perspective as far as like what you've been able to accomplish and who you are today really stems from where we come from and where our parents, as the genesis of our story. So letting your life and your truth like tell your story and share that with other people. So thank you for that. Like, I loved it.
I'm glad I was able to share my screen and give y'all like the insight to the journey. You know what I mean? As far as a gem that I have, the only thing I would say for the audience and listeners is just don't literally try to be like anybody else. Just understand that everybody goes through the same doubts. The same fucking everybody goes through all that shit that you think that you're dealing with by yourself. Everybody goes through that, from our parents to fucking it's a human thing, you know what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind. That should help.
I love that, because even Beyonce, I'm sure, be down herself every now and then. But
even now, recently, I know she posts a lot more on Instagram now. She probably be like, "Am I oversharing?" Like I know she. Beyonce, like I think everybody goes through this shit. You know what I'm saying? Especially as you get older too, because that's another thing too. Don't think you're too special, because like there's so many people out in this world. You know what I'm saying? So like, yes, you are special, but like keep it in perspective. Like, keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people in this world, yo.
So biggest question here is, how can people who are watching this, listening to this, how can they connect with you? How can they find you? What are some upcoming things that you'd like to promote?
So I've been kind of like in stealth mode, especially like on like social media and stuff, only because like I'm working on this goal right now to close this round of funding for this new project. And but once I close that, I'm gonna be kind of like more like social, and my socials are just all the same. Amazing Grace, just my last name, Umeh, Zingrac, and I'm gonna start like a newsletter just to keep people like in tune with what I'm up to. But until then, you could just follow me on that.
Awesome. I'll subscribe to your newsletter.
Have you guys heard of Substack?
No.
I'm gonna put y'all on. It's like it's a cool way to like have a newsletter, and they let you have like paid subscriptions too, so it's kind of cool.
What is it called?
Substack.
Substack.
It's like the new wave, low key.
I'm a sucker for things like that, like new apps, new marketing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you guys read the description. Like what I'm working on is kind of like, it's like literally like, you know how people like love sports and stuff. You know how people like do like fantasy sports, like fantasy, like they bet on sports like crazy. So I'm doing that for music. I'm letting people bet on music, and like we're turning like all music metrics into like an index where you can trade on it. So like you can trade on chart position for a song.
Wow.
You can trade on whether you think an artist is going to be featured on a project, or you can trade on whether you think an artist is going to win an award, or you can trade on a song an artist is going to play at a show. So like that's literally what we're working on right now.
Why didn't we talk more about this? I know. Wait, so
I mean, we still can, and we
No.
Oh,
We gotta save something for down the line. You know what I'm saying? You know, that was just a little foreshadowing.
Okay.
Oh, so you know there's gonna be a part 2. You already know there's gonna be a part 2.
Plus, Anna told me I'll have another call too, so I don't want to take up all your time.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay, yeah. We'll probably reconnect with you and on that. But
what's the name of it, just so that people know that they've heard it here first? Because we ain't never heard of anything else like that before. So
Cloudy.
Huh?
Cloudy.
Cloudy. Okay.
Because I feel like like when I think of cloudy, when I think of the clouds, I think of like a weather person, like forecasting, like, yeah, it's gonna be cloudy for like the next 3 days and with a chance of rain. And we're doing the same thing for music. Like, yeah, I think this project is gonna do this and it's gonna have a chance of that. And then also to the word cloud. Because like as much as people hate the word cloud and cloud chase and all that shit, it really does matter. Like you're nobody if you don't have no clout. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
It is what it is.
Well, you're somebody, but you're nobody to the public.
You're nobody anyone knows.
Well, I mean, fuck like music and all that shit. Even you think about school, right? Like if I went to Yale, there is a certain level of clout that comes with that, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're from like a certain neighborhood, if I'm from like, y'all from LA, so you're from like 60s, there's a certain level of clout that comes with like everything, even being from Abiriba, like there's a certain level of clout that comes from that, right? Like the culture is so funny because like we really remix words that like it's just funny. But yeah. So that's part of the name, like cloudy for the weather, then cloud like that. Like so
That's clever.
It could be an app or like a browser.
So right now it's just a web app. We're in beta. We have about 5,000 users, but we are gonna make it an app available on Android and iOS. Yeah. All right, y'all.
All right. Thank you so much.